Most VFR pilots on VATSIM treat controlled airspace like a danger zone. They'll skirt around it and avoid it completely, purely down to the fact that they don't know how to enter it legally. And today I'm going to show you exactly why entering controlled airspace as a VFR pilot on VATSIM is not as complicated as you think it may be. But before I go ahead and do that, we have to announce the final METAR clothing custom METAR shirt giveaway. So, drumroll please. Fadhel Fall, congratulations, you have won the final custom METAR shirt giveaway. Again, my team has replied to your comment with instructions on how to claim that shirt, so go ahead over to the previous video where you'll find instructions on how to claim that shirt. Congratulations, and unfortunately for everybody else, that was the final one. If you haven't won, unfortunately, there will be no more, unless I get enough comments down below asking me for one more giveaway. If that's the case, you'll see another giveaway winner in next week's video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and learn about controlled airspace and how you can enter that as a VFR pilot on VATSIM. Just like in real life, the UK's airspace on VATSIM is divided into classes. As a VFR pilot, your main area of interest is Class Delta airspace. And this is the type that surrounds big airports like Bristol, Liverpool, or East Midlands. When you fly into Class Delta on VATSIM, you must have a clearance. That means you can't just fly straight through. You need to ask, and you need to do it correctly. Now, before you enter Class Delta, there's a few things that you need to know. But before we go ahead and discuss controlled airspace, there's something that we need to talk about first. If you're watching this and you still don't feel confident flying on the VATSIM network, or you do, but you just feel limited as you don't know how to push your flying journey that one step further and make yourself a master, and that's exactly why I built VATSIM Mastery. It's not another one of those surface level YouTube tutorials that all tell you how to do one thing in multiple different ways. It's a structured program that takes you from not knowing how to fly on the VATSIM network to knowing how to operate like a professional. Inside, you'll get access to not just one, but 2 real-world pilot mentors, 28 video modules, and 3 full flight breakdowns, alongside weekly group coaching calls where we look at the mistakes that you've made on VATSIM, we break them down, and we make sure that you never make them again. So if you want to stop guessing and start flying properly, the link's down below. Class Delta is controlled airspace that allows both IFR and VFR traffic. Inside of it, ATC provides traffic information, but not full separation. And as I've said before, it's imperative that you have a clearance to enter this airspace. Before you key up, there are 3 things that you need to know. Number 1 is your position. You need to check the chart and see the visual reference point that you are closest to, because this is going to come in handy shortly. Number 2 is your routing. You need to know how you want to enter the zone and how you want to exit the zone. For example, north to south via a visual landmark like a river, motorway, or a visual reference point. Number 3 is your altitude. Have a specific altitude in mind for your crossing, ideally below the upper limit of the airspace boundary, and make sure that it's appropriate for your direction of flight. Once you've determined these 3 things, you have all the information you need to speak to a controller and call them on their frequency when there is a gap. Your initial call should include your location, your altitude, and your request, and it should sound a little something like this. Liverpool approach, Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, or a Cessna 152 overhead the Frodsham Hill VRP. Request VFR zone transit from south to north at an altitude of 2,000 feet. Now, there are 2 things that can happen once you have put in that initial radio call. If the airspace is busy, you'll likely hear something like this. Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Liverpool approach, roger, remain outside of controlled airspace. That means that they've acknowledged you, but you cannot enter yet, and you need to continue outside of their controlled airspace. Or if the control zone is not busy and ATC is ready for you to enter, you'll hear something like this. Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta Liverpool approach, hello, cleared to enter the Liverpool control zone from the south, routing via the River Mersey, not above 1,500 feet, VFR and the QNH 1014. Your clearance will also contain a squawk, and that's your clearance. But now this is where most people mess up. You must read that clearance back word for word and not just say roger. So your response would be cleared to enter controlled airspace from the south via the River Mersey, not above 1,500 feet on the QNH of 1014 Golf Charlie Delta. When you're requesting a clearance or when you're speaking to the controller for the first time, you need to say your entire call sign. So obviously ours would be Golf Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta. But once the controller has acknowledged you, you can shorten your call sign down to the first and the last two letters of your call sign. So for us, Golf, Charlie, and Delta. If you're routing via certain visual reference points, those will be included in your controlled airspace entry clearance. And you'll be expected to route between those visual reference points at or below the altitude that the controller has told you to fly, not above. There's one thing to bear in mind, and that is, although you will receive traffic information from the controller, you are responsible for maintaining separation from other aircraft within the Liverpool control zone. So you need to make sure that you are constantly looking for any aircraft that could potentially cause any collisions or issues with yourself. When you're nearing the edge of the air traffic control zone, the controller will usually say something along these lines. Golf Alpha Bravo, Charlie Delta, you're leaving controlled airspace to the north, Squawk conspicuity, and your frequency changes approved. Goodbye. And that's your cue to reply. Leaving controlled airspace to the north, frequency change approved, and Squawk conspicuity. Golf Charlie Delta, bye. And at that point, you can go ahead and switch to your next frequency, which, for example, if there are no other controllers online in the immediate vicinity, that'll be Unicom on 122.8. Now, you may be asking, what does Squawk conspicuity mean? Squawk conspicuity simply means that you need to squawk the default code for your aircraft's flight rules. So obviously today we're flying VFR or visual flight rules, and the conspicuity or base squawk for a VFR flight is 7,000. So all that simply means is that you can reset your squawk from the squawk that this controller gave you back to 7,000, which will allow another controller later down the line to issue you another squawk if, for example, you were to enter their control zone. And that's all. That's how you enter, navigate, and exit controlled airspace as a VFR pilot on the VATSIM network. If you found this video helpful, subscribe. And if you want to go deeper and learn everything from radio discipline to advanced IFR procedures, check out the first link in the description, which is VATSIM Mastery. And that's all. Safe flights as always.